I dumbed down as much of the words as I could so that
I don't
you wouldn't be like,
that.
one of the words was like epicenter. And I just was like, he's not going to get epicenter. He's going to be like APCD.
Three, two, one, show time! Hey, welcome to Hey, Did You Ever See That Movie? I'm your host, Des, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Lynn.
There is no Dylan, only Zool.
And joining us again, the podcaster with a fully packed bong, Pat.
Shh, listen. Do you smell something?
Okay. Yeah, weed from your bong. This week, we will be discussing the 1984 paranormal comedy, Ghostbusters, written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, directed by Ivan Reitman. It stars Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Sigourney Weaver, Rick Moranis, and Ernie Hudson. As always, this podcast will contain spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, go watch the movie, then come back and listen to the podcast.
If you haven't seen it, where have you been?
Yeah,
No
welcome
shit.
to Earth. Okay. And now, it is time for another installment of Disaster Piece Theater. So sit back and enjoy the show. Welcome to Disaster Piece Theater, where me and my two co-hosts will act out one scene from the movie that we are reviewing for you this evening. So please, sit back, grab some popcorn, and enjoy the show.
Alright, quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Action.
What did you say your name was?
Vince Cortho, Keymaster of Gozer.
According to this, his name's Louis Tully. Lives on Central Park West. Do you want some coffee, Mr. Tully?
Do I?
Yes, have some.
Yes, have some.
Vince, you said you were waiting for a sign. What sign are you waiting for?
Goes the traveler. He will come in one of the pre-chosen forms. During the rectification of the Voldrani, the traveler came as a large moving torb. Then, during the third reconciliation of the McKettrick supplement, they chose a new form for him, that of a giant slur. Many shrubs and zoos knew what it was like to be roasted in the depths of the slur. That Jack could tell you.
Cut! Cut! Cut!
Would you guys like a sample of my brain?
God, no.
Okay. Okay, and now it is time for Dez's 4-in-1 fun fake fact, where it will be up to my two co-hosts to figure out which fact is total bullshit. Fact number 1. Rick Moranis co-wrote Ghostbusters, but was not credited. Number 2. Slimer was made to resemble John Belushi and was inspired by Belushi and referred to as the Ghost of John. Number 3. Eddie Murphy regrets turning down the role of Winston. Number 4. Porno star Ron Jeremy has a cameo in the movie. And number 5. Harold Ramis only decided to play Egon after his first choice, Robert Carradine, backed out due to being contractually committed to play Lewis in Revenge of the Nerds the same year. Robert has stated that he believes he would have been a bigger star had he played Egon and regrets the decision. Dylan, which fact is bullshit?
Number 5.
And Pat, what do you think is bullshit?
Number 1.
Rick Moranis co-wrote was... No, Rick Moranis actually did co-write Ghostbusters. And
What?
wasn't... Yes, he did, and he was not
Oh,
credited.
that's bullshit.
And Dylan, I think that you only picked 5 because I tried to Jedi mind trick you last night while you were watching the movie. Where she's watching it, I'm like, yeah, it's funny how Harold Ramis wasn't the first choice to play Egon. So you got it right. That's the bullshit. But
Yeah.
I could see him as Egon.
I could, sure.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get to it. Okay. With a budget of $25 million and a box office gross of $295 million, this was considered a huge success. Let's do some quick opening thoughts. So, I mean, obviously, we've all seen this movie a bazillion times. I've seen it more times than I can count, and I find something new to laugh at every time I watch it, which is amazing because I've seen it so many times. The comedic timing in this movie, second to none. It's really the charm of the movie. And fun fact, Pat and I quote this movie on the reg at work. It's in the script. Let's just say.
We quote it at home constantly.
Yeah, constantly. This is just one of those, so quotable.
Just the other day, picking Tess up for work. He tells me how he walks out the door, and you go. One of you said, "No kiss."
It was Delenn. It was Delenn. I walk out the door, she goes, "No kiss." Okay. Delenn,
Yes.
you've seen the movie.
Oh, yes. Many,
What are
many
your opening
times.
thoughts?
So rarely do you see a movie that enters into the pop culture lexicon so completely as this movie does. It's like people can't understand just how saturated this was when it came out. Like everyone saw it. Everyone knew what it was. Ghostbusters by Ray Parker Jr. was like number one, or like it was on the chart. Like everyone was singing the song.
Oh, it was number one. It was
It
number
was
one.
it was in commercials. It was in like everyone was wearing the T-shirt. I mean, it was everywhere, and it's like
Yeah.
it's very rare that a movie does that. Like it was huge, and I don't even know if people can understand. Like the closest thing you got to it was like maybe like Endgame or something, like one of the Avengers movies in recent times. It like,
Right.
and that's not even getting quite as close. This was like cultural phenomenon. It was a huge like bomb that went off and changed a ton.
You know what movie reminds me of this that came out about the same time was that first Batman movie with Michael Keaton. Same thing.
Yes.
All you saw was for the commercials, all you would see was like the symbol, the Batman coming soon. And then everybody's wearing the Batman shirt again. And it's like this big thing, and it changed the way superhero movies are made going forward.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And
yeah.
you got to think like even, the Batman movies ended up having, songs that were huge hits too. But I don't know, something about this movie in particular, it was like, it's a stupid comedy about dudes catching ghosts in New York City. And it was huge. It just was so
Huge.
big. And, you can't even underestimate what it did to pop culture going forward after what it was, this 1984, 85. Like it changed.
84. Yeah.
It changed the movies that were getting greenlit. It changed, the lives of the guys in it. They were
Again.
popular stars anyways, but it made them superstars.
Again, very similar to the Batman movie. Just it was one of those things, it came out at the right time, 1984. Things were changing, things were getting bigger. Things were changing. Pat,
Yeah.
what you got?
Were things changing?
Things were changing.
Yes, it's amazing the pop culture icon this movie became. Even today, how many decades later, we're still quoting the movie. I watch it, and it's like it is one of those comfort movies that you can watch again and again. And like Des said, he always finds something about it that makes him laugh that he missed the last time. You really can't beat the cast. I was doing the research, and so many different actors were first considered for this movie, and it's not just for one role, but all of them. But I can't see this being done any differently than with Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, Dan Aykroyd. I mean, their timing is like right out of Saturday Night Live funny.
It's perfect. It's perfect. All right, Delenn, give us the synopsis and we'll get into it.
All right. After the members of a team of scientists lose their cushy positions at a university in New York City, they decide to become Ghostbusters to wage a high-tech battle with the supernatural for money. They stumble upon a gateway to another dimension, a doorway that will release evil upon the city. The Ghostbusters must now save New York from complete destruction.
All right. So I read that. I thought it said science breakdown. I'm like, oh, that's clever. It says scene breakdown. Okay.
Oh boy, it's gonna be one of those
Okay.
nights, huh?
It is.
Oh yeah,
It
you
is.
knew
Can
that
you?
right
Can I
from
just
the beginning.
explain to you that I dumbed down as much of the words as I could, so that
I don't
you wouldn't
appreciate
be like.
that.
One of the words was like epicenter, And I just was like, he's not going to get epicenter. He's going to be like ABCD. So I changed it to center. I was like, he can't handle that word. He's not ready for that cheese.
Christ.
I'm sure the listeners will appreciate that fact.
Okay. All right.
I did my best.
Okay. Let's break it down. Let's
get into it.
Okay. The film opens in the New York Public Library.
That was on purpose.
Yeah, it was. All right. Fun story before we even get started. So I was a
Here we
telemarketer
go.
once, right? And I swear to God, I swear on my grave, this is true. So I called this woman and I said, "Hello, Mrs. Library." She goes, "Try the library." That's a true story. That's a true story. Okay, I'm gonna have to tell Fee that over on the Breaking Vinyl podcast. He'll laugh his ass off. Okay, so our poor librarian innocently is putting books away when ghostly happenings start occurring around her. Books float around by themselves, and the card catalog nearly explodes, sending files, cards flying in the air. Completely unnerved, she runs towards the exit, but instead she runs into an unseen specter. After the opening tilt shot, we meet Dr. Peter Venkman.
Title shot.
I
It's not
know.
a tilt shot. It's a title shot.
Who is running a suspiciously rigged ESP test with a nerdy student and a pretty female student. Dr. Ray Stantz enters and frantically begins to tell Venkman about the sighting at the library, insisting they leave at once to check it out. Okay. So this opening scene, what I really liked about this library scene is it's spooky. And there's only a couple of scenes in this movie that are actually spooky that kind of give me that like sort of poltergeist feel, like when you're in the kitchen and the chairs stack themselves. Like, so it almost feels like it's going to be a little bit more serious and scarier movie than it turns out to be. So I appreciated this opening scene because it did give you a little saison of that flavor, and it needed it. And it set the movie up as a paranormal spook movie. I loved the opening Ghost too. I mean, it's all so good. It's all so good. Delin, what do you got?
Yeah, honestly, you took the words right out of my mouth with the poltergeist thing, because I think that this might have been done by the same people, because later on when you actually do see this ghost that we're talking about, she looks just like the ghost that's at the door of the kid's bedroom.
Oh, yeah.
Like, literally, it's almost like they used the same model, which is cool with me because it's cool looking, so I'm not going to complain. And this was all around the same time, 83, 84, 85. So it's very possible. And I think they were using the same kind of, like the effects, that see-through effect that you've got. And I really appreciate them because to me, it really looks good. And it's like for the 80s, it looks really good. Like this was completely believable to me. I don't know about anyone else, but I mean, we're talking about ghosts. So you pretty much have free reign to do what you want to do to make it look the way you want it to look.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't go like this route through the whole movie. You know, like they didn't really like lean on the ghosts, and they didn't really lean on this being a ghost story or a scary story or trying to keep it, you know, dark and spooky. Not at all. But we did get a little bit of a taste, and it was just enough for me. Pat, what do you got?
The card files flying out of the thing. I don't know how they did that effect, but it's fantastic. Like if I saw that, I would have been just like that librarian. I would have shit my pants.
Oh yeah, when you see in the background when she's walking and that one book slides out, that's spooky. It's great.
Yeah, super.
But I don't want this movie to be that.
No, not the whole time.
It was nice to just give me a little of that. So Pat, what do you got?
Well, I agree with you. That's a great way to start the movie. The entire scene is perfect for it. It's the basement of a library. There's not a sound. There's nobody there. She's used to this place, and then she hears those cards flipping through the air. And I think I don't know how they must have rigged it, but you know those machines that count money?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That's probably something like that when they used something small like that to get those cards to fly out. I thought about it when I saw them. I saw the cards flying. Like, how did they make that happen? But no, you don't need a lot of ghosts because the movie's more about the guys fighting them than the ghosts themselves.
So I love in the first 5 minutes how much we actually learn about Peter Venkman. He's looking and winking at this girl as he's like, got his hand on the button. He's about to electrocute this poor kid, forgetting it right and being psychic.
Did you notice every time he got it wrong, he showed him the card?
Oh yeah.
And then when he gets it right, he doesn't show him the card. I thought that was so scummy.
So close. Yeah, she's 5 for 5. It's fucking great. You know who this kid reminded me of? He reminded me of a young Rick Moranis, right?
Oh yeah, I suppose so.
Like big time. Big time. Do you guys have any thoughts on that scene?
Yeah, just the fact that you, like you said, right off the bat, you know who this guy is. You know what he's all about. You know he's, a skirt chaser. You know he's got very little morals. You know he's probably not the best professor out there.
Right. No. Had nothing to do with science. You
Yes.
never studied. Pat, what do you got on this opening scene?
Peter Venkman is just his interaction with the kid he's shocking is just so typical. You agreed to do this, didn't you? We're paying you, aren't you? You can keep the $5.
So good.
He's giving him $5 for this test, and it's over 75 questions or cards he has to look at to try and see if he can guess what the card is. Oh, there's only 75 more to go.
Oh
Are
my
you
God.
shitting me for $5? I'd have been out of there after the first shock.
Upon arriving at the library, Venkman and Ray meet up with Dr. Egon Spangler. Venkman asks the rattled librarian some inappropriate questions before Egon insists they go downstairs. The entity is moving. They find a card catalog dripping with ectosperm, stacked books, and are nearly crushed by a falling bookcase. They find the ghost, a free-floating, full-torso apparition. She looks like an older librarian that shushes Peter when he asks her where she's from. Originally. Okay. Not sure what to do, Ray decides his best course of action is to yell, "Get her!" and rushes the ghost, which responds by turning into a ghoulish skeleton. All three run away. Okay. Dylan, why don't you tell us
Yes.
what you think about this scene?
So I love the librarian. This poor woman, is there anybody that's had mental illness in your family? Well, my uncle thought he was St. Jerome. It's like, what?
That is a big yes.
Yes.
I do love that there's a ton, like a lot of this movie is not written out. A lot of this movie is just them riffing in between takes, and they just use the best stuff. So you never know what was actually written in the script and what wasn't, but yeah, love the first sighting of Egon. He's awesome. Freaking, to me, Egon is the unsung hero of this movie. Love him.
Yeah, Egon's great. He's got that. He's always making those faces in the background that just fucking
Mugging.
Yeah,
Mugging.
yeah. I love some of these questions. Are you menstruating? And then the guy's like, "Hey, is that appropriate?" He's like, "Back off! I'm a scientist, man." So good. And the ghost looks fucking great. I mean,
Yes.
really, really good. And I love, it's such a gentle old lady, and then it just, explodes. So really good stuff. Pat, what you got?
No, I have to agree. The way they projected that ghost was awesome. I mean, again, it's the early '80s, and CGI was nothing compared to what it is now. But the ghost was great. The interaction when one of the guys says, "One of us should go and talk to it," and they both look at Peter. It was awesome. He just rolls his eyes and walks away and delivers that iconic line, "Where are you from?" Originally.
So
And
good.
she shushes him, and the look on his face when she shushes him was hysterical. It just totally changed. And even today, I noticed when it transforms into something hideous and they go running out, everybody's running backwards, and the look on Dan Aykroyd's face was priceless. And you see the same look as he's running down the stairs of the library, and he's got this shaggy, oh my God, I'm terrified look as he tries to turn to the side, almost runs off the road. Hysterical.
Also occurs to me that they never went back to this library and actually took care of this.
That is
Right?
correct.
That is weird. I never thought about that. Huh. All right. Returning to the university, the trio find that their grants have been pulled and they are now all unemployed. Venkman declares that this was meant to be and they are going to go into business for themselves doing paranormal investigations and eliminations, convincing Ray to take a third mortgage out on his childhood home at a staggering interest rate. Venkman gets the startup capital for the three to start the business. They rent a dilapidated firehouse after Ray's enthusiasm about the place overrules Venkman and Egon's misgivings. Fucking great. You didn't even haggle with them. The way I calculated it comes out to about $90,000 in interest over the first 3 years. It's fucking hilarious, man. These guys are ready to piss through all of fucking his money, like, without even thinking twice.
Everybody has 3 mortgages.
Everybody has 3 mortgages.
That's such an awesome one. He just totally, he doesn't care that he could possibly screw Ray over trying to make this work.
And Ray is so dumb because he's ready to pay top dollar for the firehouse. He buys the fucking ectoplasm mobile, which needs everything. It's fucking perfect. Glenn, what do you think?
Yeah, him being upstairs and being like, "Hey, does this pole work?" And he's sliding down it like a little kid. And he's like, "This is great. I'm going to go get my stuff." He's like, honey, he's you when you see something and you go, "Oh my God," instead of like playing it close to the vest.
Oh shit. We'll be at like the flea market. I'll see like a Mickey Mantle box and a fucking box of cards. It's like $1 for any card in the box. I'll be like, "Holy shit, is that a fucking $200 Mickey Mantle card?" The guy's like, what, that? Oh, wait, that's not included. Oh, my God. I just went to go buy a car. The guy's like, 14 grand. I'm like, I'll take it.
No haggling.
Okay. No,
None.
actually, if you heard the story, you know that I not only haggled, but was inappropriate. So,
inappropriate?
And then you ended up paying full price after the fact.
Yeah, and this was 3 weeks ago, and I still don't have the car because it's fucking being repaired. Pat, go ahead.
I lost track of what scene we were talking about.
When they get into the firehouse.
The firehouse. The only character I think I didn't like in this movie was the real estate agent. The look on her face when Ray was so excited. She was just so pompous.
She had them.
Oh, exactly. And Ray, like Des said, Ray's like a kid. "Hey, does this pole still work? You guys gotta try this. I'm gonna go get my stuff.
Yeah,
we should
stay here tonight?
sleep here tonight. Try it out." Oh, Ray was like a kid on Christmas morning. It was so funny. Egon, being the scientist that he is, rants off about everything that's wrong with the building.
The neighborhood is a demilitarized zone. It's fucking perfect.
Oh, it was awesome. And then, of course, Ray chimes in how excited he is, and Peter just deadpan, "I think we'll take it."
Holy shit.
But the real estate agent, just a look on her face when she says, "Good." I was like, somebody push her in front of a bus.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Well, it's New York.
At 55 Central Park West, classical musician Dana Barrett arrives home with groceries. She runs into her neighbor, the awkward accountant, Louis Tully, who invites her to play his party. This thing with me taking over is not working well.
No, but it's working perfectly. It's working perfectly.
For you, yes. I can see that.
Because he would roast me.
Nothing like watching an asshole turn into an asshole.
At 55 Central Park West, classical musician Dana Barrett arrives home with her groceries. She runs into her neighbor, the awkward accountant Louis Tully, who invites her to his party and tells her that other neighbor was complaining that she left her TV on too loud. Though she was sure she had left it off. What the fuck? Why are my pauses and inflections wrong?
Because you don't know how to read.
I don't have any paper to write all these fucking edits down. Just endless edits. This is going to take me all night again.
Wow.
33. Oh.
You should have a
Full
flashing red light
meltdown.
above his head that says meltdown, meltdown,
Full meltdown.
It's the saga with the Mini Cooper that's killing him.
Yeah, that's it.
That I can't read.
Oh yeah, that's always that.
At 55 Central Park West, classical musician Dana Barrett arrives home with groceries. She runs into her neighbor, the awkward accountant, Louis Tully, who invites her to his party and tells her that another neighbor was complaining she left her TV on too loud, though she was sure she had left it off. In her kitchen, she is unpacking her groceries when the eggs on the counter start jumping out of their shell and cooking on the counter. Hearing growling from her fridge, she opens it to find the temple in the clouds with a demon dog outside. It says the word "Zuh" before she slams the door shut in terror. Go ahead. What do you got?
Okay, first of all, no woman, single woman that is just like a regular seated musician in the New York Symphony can afford that apartment.
No, that
No.
apartment is big money.
That apartment is like $10,000 a month, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a gorgeous apartment with a gorgeous view. It's the penthouse. It's the corner. Yeah, she can't afford that. And quite frankly, Louis Tully can't afford his apartment either. But that's okay. We'll let it go.
When I was living in the East Village back in 1990, 89, 90, my apartment had no bathroom ceiling. It was infested with cockroaches and mice. There was an extension cord running from the one power source in the entire building, so I was able to plug one thing in at a time. Usually it was a lamp. It's fucking, yeah. Like, it's very expensive to live in fucking New York City.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pat, what do you got?
Louis Tully is probably one of the funniest characters you'll ever see created. I think I tried to count how many times he locked himself out of his apartment.
Oh, so great.
It was at least twice, and both times it's because he met Dana.
It's three times, I think. It's when he talks to Dana in the hallway. It's when Venkman gets kicked out. He comes out because he hears her door and he can't get back in. And then doesn't he get locked out during the party?
During the party, yeah.
And there's a bunch of people in his house and he gets locked out.
Oh, and he can't get into his own apartment. That's absolutely hysterical.
Did you guys notice on the counter that she pulls out of her grocery bag a bag of Stay Puft marshmallows?
Stay Puft marshmallows.
Yes.
Yeah. Very foreshadowing. I thought it was very good.
It's I don't know. It's funny, the dynamic between her and Rick Moranis. It's even funnier that he can't pick up on the fact that she wants nothing to do with him.
Right? She brushes him off constantly.
Oh, she's trying to brush him off, and he's just so cool with himself. You know, he taped a 20-minute workout and played it back at high speed and got a great workout.
And half the time.
And all you see is this tiny little guy in a tracksuit with big glasses.
Yeah.
It doesn't get much funnier than that.
Dude, his outfits throughout the entire movie are just classic. So good.
The velour jumpsuit.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, yes.
So good. His pants are always flooding. It's so good. It's so good. Ray arrives at the firehouse with a wreck of an old ambulance as their new vehicle. Inside, Peter picks on their new secretary, Janine, before Dana arrives seeking help for what happened in her apartment. After talking to her, the Ghostbusters think Peter should accompany her back to the apartment to look around. He finds little in the way of paranormal happenings there, though he continuously tries to impress her and begs her for a date. She forces him out of the house. What, with no kiss? Back at the firehouse, the Ghostbusters sit around eating Chinese food. Venkman says he wants to take Dana to dinner to wine and dine their only customer, but Ray informs him that they are out of petty cash. Janine is getting ready to go downstairs when the phone rings. It's an urgent call from a hotel being plagued by a ghost. She sounds the alarm, and the guys fly down to the firefighters' poles and head out to the Sedgwick Hotel. There's a ghost on the 12th floor causing havoc. They nearly kill a maid with their proton packs before splitting up to look for the real ghost. Ray sees the ghost Slimer eating from a room service cart. He misses him with the shot, and Slimer takes off through the wall. Peter runs into Slimer face to face and is attacked, being left laying prone and covered in slime. Egon calls them to the ballroom where Slimer is gone to hide. They completely destroy the ballroom, but manage to catch the ghost after getting paid their high asking fee. They leave them victorious. Oh, God.
Wow.
I knew what you were saying.
Did
I
you?
did too.
Did you?
If you know the movie, you know what you're saying.
Yeah. It's okay.
Dylan, what do you got on this scene?
Okay, so obviously we've met Slimer now, and he's hilarious and ridiculous and slimy and gross, and we also get to see them use the proton packs for the first time. This contains my actual laugh out loud moment because I had never seen it before. They're in the elevator, they're going up,
Oh, yeah.
and Ray says, switch me on, and switches them on, and the look on Egon's face as it's warming up, and he goes... It moves to this. I laughed so hard. I was like, I've never seen that. I never saw that before. It was one of those things that I had never caught, and it made me actually laugh out loud. So perfect. Like, again, Egon mean mugging, loving it. And, literally the way that they are just completely ignoring the guy that's running the hotel. They're just going to blow this crap up and do not care. They don't care. It's awesome.
I'm not laughing at what you're saying. I'm laughing that I'm contemplating on starting this podcast again because my reading has destroyed this podcast.
We're not starting over at 40 minutes in.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing.
It's so bad.
There's so much about the scene. One, there's a lot to go through in there. Peter at Dana's apartment. There are so many lines in that scene that Des and I have thrown at each other back and forth. Is this a bedroom? Yes, but nothing ever happened in there. What a crime. He tinkles the ivories on the piano. They hate this. I like to torture them.
He opens the refrigerator and he goes, "You eat like this?"
What is all this junk food?
I like when she says, "What is that you're doing?" He goes, "It's complicated."
It's one of our toys.
That's what it's called.
They get the call to go to the Sedgwick Hotel, and the poor manager's trying to keep everything quiet. Well, that's what makes me laugh. Janine's taking the call, and oh yes, they're very what the hell's a word
discreet.
that you use?
Discreet.
They're very discreet, and they show up, and here's Peter. Hey, anybody seen a ghost? And I'm like, yeah, that's really discreet. Holy shit!
So when Dana comes into the firehouse at first, and fucking Peter, you don't see Peter. She comes up and says, to Janine what she's there for. All of a sudden, you see Peter jump up. He springs up from behind those fucking file cabinets.
Yes,
dude, and hurdles the fucking. It's hilarious.
Oh, when he pops up from behind, because that's where his desk is. You can't see him as he's sitting down, but when he pops up, all I can think of is like a gopher popping out of its hole to look around.
It's fucking hilarious.
But they go to the back to the hotel, and just so many different things that were so funny about that scene. They meet the guy. What are you, some kind of cosmonaut? No, we're exterminators. Somebody saw a roach up on 12.
Some
it's
big
like,
roach.
holy shit.
That must be some big roach. Bite your head off,
man.
So good.
And it's so funny. And one of the scenes that makes me laugh so much is as they're all wandering through the hallways, Egon is looking at his PKE meter, and he comes to one of the guests about to go into his door, and the camera scans up, and he pokes him in the shoulder to see if he's real. I was like, oh my God, that's friggin' funny.
Yeah.
So funny.
When Peter is leaving Dana's apartment, you see Rick Moranis. He comes out of his apartment and he sees Peter, and he makes this fucking face that I never noticed till I was watching it today. It's so funny. Look for it. And then he turns around and tries to get back into his apartment without Peter seeing him. It's these
But he locked himself out again.
Yeah, it's these little subtle fucking expressions on people's faces, and these that really play. Like, like we're gonna get to. We're there when they're going in the elevator and they're talking about how, you know, he's got these nuclear fucking devices on their bats that are untested. And, you know, he flicks it on and you see Egon kind of like
Yeah, that's
back
what Delane
away
was saying.
and makes the space. It's so good. These are
The
the little
two
subtle-
of them try to get as far away from him as possible
Well,
in the elevator car.
They don't though. Egon does, but fucking
Peter just makes room for him to get away from Ray.
Vakeman almost like snuggles up next to it. It's the weirdest thing.
And then when they come across the poor maid, the housekeeper, and they fire their proton packs at her. The camera goes back to Ray and Egon, and all you hear is, "What the hell are you doing?" She crawls up from behind.
She's trying to put the fire out with her
Fires
spray
on with her spray bottle. She's trying to put out the fire on the rolls of toilet paper that are charred and on flames. There was just so much about that. And the one thing I did notice, though, is I had to ask, was the cigarette stuck to Ray's lip accidental? Or was it designed that way?
Oh,
I don't know.
Because when he sees Slimer and he opens his mouth and that cigarette sticks to his lip, I laughed my ass off because that's happened to me before.
Oh, I'm sure. And then it presumably falls to the floor and burns this expensive carpet. Not that it matters, because they're going to destroy the hotel. So I love when the hotel manager, after they've captured Slimer and they're outside the ballroom and they're getting ready to give him the price. So Peter's looking over and you see Egon. So, you know, Peter goes, well, it's going to be, and Egon's got 4 fingers up like on his chin, 4 big ones and then he looks at me again and he's got 1 finger on his chin, Egon, and 1,000 for the storage fee. So it's funny how Egon is actually setting the price. Like it's not Venkman giving him these high prices. It's Egon, which I thought was very
feeding him
clever.
like with hand signals. That was something that always made me laugh. And the look on Egon's face, it's like he's not even looking at Peter. It's like he's looking away or he's looking down, and he's just giving him the fingers to tell him how much to charge.
Yeah, I also loved in this hotel scene at the very beginning. This is where we're going to see the ectoplasmin fucking vehicle all painted up for the first time. The Ecto-1 all painted up for the first time. We're going to see the guys in their, you know, superhero ghost-busting outfits for the first time. Like, we're getting the big reveal here, and this is where the movie really takes off. Really, when the bell goes off in the firehouse, this movie is now full power, full blast ahead, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This successful hunt proves to be the first of a sudden rash of hauntings that mean brisk business for the Ghostbusters. We get a montage here showing their rise to fame, news spots, newspaper clippings, and interviews. I wanted to ask you guys, did you notice in the first on-site news interview, did you guys see the guy in the background with the beard and the long hair and the dressed fully in denim? He's like right over the fucking reporter's shoulder, and he's like playing with his beard and pulling at his beard and looking. You noticed him.
Yeah, that's a reporter talking about his grandma and his spectral locomotive.
Yes, but behind him, there's like a
behind
street
him
guy.
Oh, absolutely, I saw him.
So that's not an extra, and none of that was planned. That's just a crazy New Yorker that stumbled upon into the scene and started like fucking with them and like making weird fucking motions in the camera. Isn't that weird?
That is very weird.
That's New York.
But it was cool. Yeah, that's New York, but it was cool. Peter briefly meets with Dana in her orchestra practice. Peter briefly meets with Dana after her orchestra practice and flirts a bit with her before telling her about Zulu, whom he has discovered is an association with ancient Sumerian god of destruction, Gozer. He tells her that he'll go over it more in detail over dinner, and she finally agrees to a date. The Ghostbusters hire a 4th man, Winston Zedmore, a black, blue-collared type guy who is just looking for a job, but will believe anything as long as there's a paycheck attached. The Ghostbusters hire a 4th man, Winston Zedmore, a black and blue. The Ghostbusters hire a 4th man, Winston Zedmore, a black, blue-collared type guy who's just looking for a job, but will believe anything as long as there's a steady paycheck. Hired immediately, he goes with Ray to learn how to clean out traps. Walter Peck, a pompous EPA delegate and also a reporter from Die Hard, meets with Peter. He speaks to him condescendingly and briefly questions him about the possible environmental impact of their business, and specifically their custom-built storage facility. He demands to see it, but Peter just patronizes him for a bit before throwing him out. Downstairs, Egon admits that he's worried about the facility's looming capacity problem and the larger problem it indicates. To illustrate, Egon tells them that his latest research indicates that the city is experiencing a colossal increase in paranormal activity, comparing it to a 600-pound Twinkie. Yum. Peter joins them, mentioning the EPA, and memorably asks, what about the Twinkie? Why would it say memorably asks?
Because it's a famous quote.
Oh,
Memorably. It's a memorable quote.
okay.
Are you okay? You don't understand what that means?
No, I would say, and okay.
I
Go
guess
ahead.
it
What do you
wasn't
think of
dumbed
these
down
scenes?
enough.
Yeah,
What do you think of these 400 scenes I just went through?
So it's fantastic. The real people that they got for, like you got Casey Kasem talking about it. Like it made it feel like it was the real world. You know, like this is really happening. Of course, it's not. We know it's not. We know it's a movie, but it gives it that that saison of being real, right?
Yes.
How many? It's very nostalgic for that time of that part of the era, because everybody has heard Casey Kasem voice over the
Yes.
radio.
Mhm.
Everybody. So you immediately pick up, and I love how the boys in gray duked it out with a pretty pesky poltergeist, and
Yeah.
and then stayed on to dance the night away with the girls, and I was like, oh my god, it takes me back to decades ago when you were listening to the American Top 40 with Casey Kasem. And
So
I'd like
good.
to point out his wife is at the party that Louis Tully
Yes.
throws.
She's the tall blonde.
She's the tall blonde.
Really? That's
Yes,
cool.
that is Casey Kasem's wife.
So did you notice that the other orchestra player that's hanging out with Dana, the stiff, as Peter calls her, is actually Ellis DeWalt from
Alice DeWalt.
from Beverly Hills Cop 3.
It's Alice DeWalt. Let's hear
It's
it for
Alice
Alice DeWalt.
Ellis DeWalt, Ellis DeWalt, Ellis DeWalt. Okay.
I thought it was fantastic that they had him doing the Afrin up the nose because it was so just like he is a stiff. Like, oh my god, just like
Yeah, they made him use the nasal spray because it just makes him look like a total dork.
yes.
And probably my favorite part, the way that scene ends, is you see the roller skater in the orange jumpsuit in the back spinning around, and here's Peter doing the same thing in his orange jacket. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's just
It was nice.
It
was a
is.
nice
It's
touch.
it is all Peter Venkman at that point in time, and it's so his character to do something like that.
Yeah,
It was
in
a
his
nice
mind,
touch.
everything's coming up Venkman.
Yes, it is.
When Dana returns to her apartment, she is again accosted by Louis, whose party is happening. She brushes him off again and goes to get ready for her date with Peter. She sits down for a moment and notices the same growling noises she heard earlier. Before she can react, 3 arms burst out of the chair, restraining her, and the chair flies into the kitchen, right into the waiting claws of Shaka Zulu. Lewis's party continues. As he throws a couple of coats into the bedroom, the second terror dog busts out of the apartment bedroom and chases him out of the building. He runs into the park, but finds no help, even from all the people dining in the tavern on the green. Meanwhile, Peter arrives at Dana's apartment, stepping over the carnage of Lewis's party, and knocks on the door. Dana opens it dressed in a slinky red dress. She is possessed by Shaka Zulu. He sidesteps her advances. When Venkman tries to reach Dana, her body levitates above the bed. Louis, looking disheveled and generally abused, runs out from Central Park, rambling. He is also possessed and is not long before the police take him into custody for his unusual behavior. Okay, we get some great scenes here. More great lines, you know. Hey, I think I got a milk bone in my pocket. Somebody brought a bear to a party. Fucking ridiculous, man. I love all this shit. So, Lynn, what do you got?
So the scene where, starting from where the girl's like, "Hey, do you have any aspirin or whatever, Tylenol?" And he's like, "I've got the acetaminophen," or whatever he says. That whole scene, it's one shot. Talking about the salmon and how much he paid for it, and that was all ad lib. That was not.
it?
Yeah, he ad libbed that entire scene all the way through. And then this is a tax write-off, which is why I invited my clients instead of my friends. And like he just went on, and that was all one shot. It didn't stop, and it was all ad libbed. So fantastic shot. And then of course him at Tavern on the Green. Somebody let me in, and he's banging on the glass, and everyone is just like ignoring him.
Total typical New Yorkers.
Yep.
It's one of my funniest scenes. Watching him run out of the even to start when the terror dog growls from the bedroom, just to look in his face. Okay, who brought the dog? And the thing comes busting out, wrecking the place. And let's not dismiss the old lady who his neighbor,
Yes.
who is in the hallway when that terror dog comes busting out of the apartment into the hallway, and she's just like, ah, and runs back in.
And slams the door.
Awesome reaction. But
super funny.
Lewis is running from his building being chased, and you hear great lines like, I'm going to bring this up in the next sentence meeting. There's not supposed to be any pets in the building. And it's just, these are the lines you may miss as you're watching the scene unfold, because you're so busy watching him run, you don't necessarily hear what he's saying.
Yeah.
I mean, the camera angle when he come from inside the Tavern on the Green, when he comes banging on the glass, you hear his hands hitting the glass, and the music stops, and everybody turns their heads towards him, and then he's attacked, and he screams, and then 2 seconds later, the music's playing, and everybody goes back to their dinner. It's like nobody gave a shit that there's a guy right outside the building getting attacked by something crazy.
Yep. They don't
And
care.
he delivers one of my favorite lines, like Des had said, nice dog, cute little pooch. Maybe I've got a milk bone. And I was in friggin' tears. He delivers, and his hands are searching the pockets of his pants as he's saying this, knowing full well there's no fucking milk bone in his pants.
And then on top of that, you get the game of telephone that happens, because by the time Peter shows up, he says to the doorman, what happened? And the doorman goes, some freak brought a cougar to a party.
And it went berserk.
The NYPD takes Lewis to the Ghostbusters since the jail and Bellevue both rejected him. Lewis reveals his name is Vince Clartho, keymaster of Gozer. During Ego's examination, Peter calls and tells Egon about the developments with Dana. He has sedated her, and she is sleeping. Egon tells Peter in return about Lewis's psychotic transformation and insists Peter come back to the headquarters. What's he doing running around with fucking... You were saying this earlier, Dylan. Venkman's running around with Thorazine in his fanny pack? I mean, what?
He didn't have a doctor's bag.
Well, he's going on a date with her to her house, and he brought Thorazine. That's sketchy. That's sketchy.
Makes me wonder.
I never thought of that.
Sketchy.
Right? What's he going to do with that Thorazine if she's not possessed? Okay.
Okay, that's not a good scene for Peter.
No.
Oh, God. Winston and Ray are driving back from the firehouse. Winston is driving while Ray examines the very old blueprints of Dana's apartment building. Winston asks Ray about his belief in God and speculates that the reason they've been so busy lately is because the dead have been rising from the grave, as it was foretold in the book of Revelations, as a precursor to the Judgment Day and the end of the world. Oh, God. Back at headquarters, Walter Peck is returned with a court order, a cop, and a Con Edison worker to shut down the power grids on the storage facility. Peter arrives, but is unable to stop them. As soon as the power is cut, a loud alarm blares and the building begins to shake. Cinder blocks coming loose in the basement. Everyone makes a run for it. A hole is blown in the roof of the building, and a tower of light shoots out of the building. Across town, Dana immediately wakes up after her sedation and walks towards her living room window. Lewis is yelling and claiming, "This is a sign we've been waiting for." Ray and Winston arrive to witness the disaster's immediate aftermath. Even as Peck demands, they are all arrested for causing it. Mark it. Ray and Winston arrive to witness the disaster's immediate aftermath, even as Peck demands they all be arrested for causing it. Enraged at this self-righteous behavior, outright lying about them while ignoring... What is... I can't... What? No! 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 Oh, God. Enraged at this self-righteous blowhard outright lying about them while ignoring his own responsibilities in this disaster, Egon attacks Peck, getting everyone arrested. This is bad writing. This isn't me. No one could read this garbage.
It's you.
No one could read this garbage.
It's you. It's you.
You read it. Read that. Just that last part.
Again?
Hold on. Let me get
Ray
there.
and Winston arrived to the witness.
Let me get there. All right, let's see. Where's Ray and Winston? Ray and Winston arrived to witness the disaster's immediate aftermath, even as Peck demands that they are all arrested for causing it. Enraged at this self-righteous blowhard's outright lying about them while ignoring his own responsibility in this disaster, Egon attacks Peck, getting everyone arrested.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Back at headquarters, Walter Peck has returned with a court order, a cop, and a Con Edison worker to shut down the power grid on the storage facility. Why am I pausing there? There's no pause. Back at headquarters, Walter Peck has returned with a court order, a cop, and a Con Edison worker to shut down the power grid on the storage facility. Peter arrives, but is unable to stop them. As soon as the power is cut, a loud alarm blares, and the building begins to shake. Cinder blocks coming loose in the basement. Everyone makes a run for it. A hole is blown in the roof of the building, and a tower of light shoots out of the building. Across town, Dana immediately wakes up from her sedation and walks towards her living room window. Lewis is yelling, claiming, "This is a sign we were waiting for." Ray and Winston arrive to witness the disaster's immediate aftermath, even as Peck demands they all be arrested for causing it. Enraged at this self-righteous blowhard outright lying about them while ignoring his own responsibility in this disaster, Egon attacks Peck, getting everyone arrested. All right, that's some reading right there.
Your mother.
Your mother. Oh, that was something else. You took us for a real ride there.
Yeah.
On a fucking BMX trail.
The listeners will never know. The listeners will never know what happened tonight. Go.
Thank God.
Go in.
Okay. So this is fantastic because this is special effects, but they look good. You know, like you watch this movie, it still looks good. I don't know how they did it. I love it. It's, you know, things look real. Like when the dog breaks through Tully's door, the door splinters. It looks real. Like, okay, yeah, the terror dog might look a little not real, but that's okay. Like I can let it go. But you know, you get that loud alarm, that doot, and you see everyone like dropping a load in their pants because they know they've did it, you know? And you know, you see Bankman trying to go up the stairs a little bit at a time to get away from it.
I love the effects on the begilding. You know what special effects are? The special effects are going to be like my reading of this podcast because it was
special,
bad.
all right.
It was
special,
bad.
all right.
It's been special. God. It's been special.
And you know what's funny? The listeners are probably like, "Wow, it really was bad." They have no idea. They have no idea. I read each section no less than 6 times. There was screaming, there was punching of the desk, there was pulling of the hair. Pat quit the podcast 3 times tonight. Fucking it was fucking bad. It was bad. So what you're hearing is like the best of what I could edit into this podcast. Oh God.
Yeah, there was also a
Pat.
dare to see if I could do it better, and I did. So yeah.
Oh, this is it. This is the end of this experiment. We're going back to the way it was. I will never read another one of these podcasts.
Oh, thank God.
The
Thank
only
God.
reason I pull off Breaking Vinyl so well is because there's nothing to read except Dave, Ed. What do you think? The name
Yeah,
of the
you're
song.
just talking.
Yeah. So Pat, what do you got on these scenes?
I love the face of the Con Edison guy when the alarm goes off.
So good.
Clearly, he realizes he should have listened to them.
Yeah.
I love the cop when who was it? When Peck says, "If she does that again, you can arrest her," and
Oh,
the
yeah.
cop is, "Don't tell me how to do your job, pencil neck." And I was
So
like,
good.
"Oh, that's great," because he is so much a pencil neck.
You do your job and I'll do mine. So
But
good.
no, like Delennon said, the special effects were simple. There wasn't like for instance, he's talking about the light coming out of the building, and you see the lights streaming across the sky, these balls of light. They don't define them with anything. Whereas, like, say, compared to the poltergeist, when they're
Right.
watching these lights come down the stairs, first it looks like a light, and then you realize it's a moving shadow. The light has definition, and they didn't go there with this. It was just the
Didn't need
energy,
to.
the energy bursting out of the machine, out of the basement through, and flying off in different directions. What I did like was the way each one of those lights took a different form
Yeah.
when it came. Slimer is in the hot dog truck, and he
Yeah.
comes out with a mouthful of hot dogs. One goes into the tailpipe of a taxi cab, and the passenger getting in is so fucking oblivious. All he cares about is where he needs to go, and he's in a hurry. Let's not dawdle. And he doesn't even realize what's driving the fucking cab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he probably did as soon as it started moving, because it ran 4 cars off the road as it makes an illegal U-turn down a road.
Yeah.
It was-
Totally.
It was just so well put together, and still so simple. But watching Egon erupt and call back and get an attack back and yell out "your mother" was so not Egon that it was hysterical.
Yeah, he's just
Oh,
been
yeah.
pushed so far at that point. It's great. Another thing that I really like too is, so I did read at some point that when Dan Aykroyd was helping to write this, his like grandfather or great grandfather was like a paranormalist. Like that was what they were into.
Yeah.
So he had a background in it, and he kind of understood some of this stuff. It wasn't like he was just writing this stuff off the cuff. And then you take the stuff from the Bible. And this is all stuff that's in reality. Like the paranormal stuff that his grandfather had done had been in reality. And the stuff that's in the Bible, the book of Revelations, that's real. So even though it's a super goofy comedy about Ghostbusters in New York City, you're threading through just enough real stuff that it really just gels. It congeals really well, you know?
Yes, I
That's
had read
interesting.
that during the research too, that going back to his great grandfather, I never knew that this was. I knew Aykroyd wrote it with Ramis, and what I didn't know was that this was his idea. This was his baby from the word go, based on his history, his father, his grandfather, his great grandfather, everything that he did. One of his, I think he said his great grandfather tried to use radio to contact the dead. And I'm reading this
Really?
and I'm like, Jesus, you never know
Yeah.
anything about that. You just know it's a funny ass movie,
Yep.
but you never know what actually spawned the production of it.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. All right. Ghosts run rampant through the city, but most of the energy seems to run directly to Dana's building. As she stands in the living room, the entire side of the building explodes. Sitting in jail, Ray shows Egon and Peter the blueprints of Dana's apartment building, pointing out highly unorthodox methods and materials, especially near the roof. Egon tells them that the building was designed by an insane architect surgeon named Ivo Shandor. He
Evo.
was so disgusted by the first World War that he decided to bring out the end of the world with a secret society of Gozer worshippers. The building was designed to allow Gozer into the world. A guard arrives and tells the Ghostbusters that the mayor wants to meet them. Lewis arrives at Dana's demolished apartment, introducing himself as the Keymaster. Dana welcomes him in, kissing him before they ascend the staircase that is now where her refrigerator used to be. The four men and Peck are brought before the mayor. Peck claims the Ghostbusters are con artists and use nerve gases to force people to hallucinate and have visions of ghosts. Winston steps up and defends them, saying he's seen things that would turn you white. City officials, like the fire chief, present evidence of bizarre phenomena. Ray reveals that the city is heading for a disaster of biblical proportions, and Vakeman finally appeals to the possibility that the mayor could be responsible for saving the lives of millions of registered voters. Convinced, the mayor throws Peck out of his office and offers whatever support he can to the Ghostbusters. I'm going to miss him. Good stuff. Dylan, what do you got on this scene?
So with this scene, we have them talking to the mayor, and this is hilarious because you have all these official people around. They're looking at a map. What is it like? Not the Pope, but the Cardinal comes in. It's ridiculous. I love it. Yeah, you get Lewis arriving at Dana's apartment and, I'm the keymaster, I'm the gatekeeper. It's like, oh boy, here we go. Then the two people you didn't want to get together are now together.
Yeah, Lewis finally going to hook up.
Yeah, he does too.
Doggy style.
God. Yeah, literally. But, you get this great scene in the mayor's office, dogs and cats living together. It's hilarious. Yeah. It's great stuff. And it's super silly. And great writing. Love it.
Yeah. I love in the jail cell when he's got the fucking plans out and these criminals are, and Peter looks at the guy, he goes, you getting all this? He's talking to some fucking big dipshit standing behind him. It's
so be
so
good,
funny.
for goodness sake.
Hey.
Whoa, somebody's coming.
Oh shit. Pat, what do you got on these scenes?
The jail scene is hysterical. Ray is so technically into these blueprints, and they talk about Ivo Shandor, and the building is girders made with pure selenium. And I'm going to take this point now to bring up the Ghostbusters, the movie Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah.
There is so many things in that movie that are reminiscent of the original Ghostbusters. If you're a fan of the original Ghostbusters, you have to check out Ghostbusters Afterlife.
So good.
You will not be disappointed in any way.
No.
But it's Peter is in his element when he's in the mayor's office, and he's getting personal, calling the mayor Lenny, and saying it's a great decision not to for the church not to put any bearing on the ethics of it. He just gets so personal with everyone there. And another line that Des and I have thrown at each other, when Egon says that everything was fine until the power shut off by Dickless here. And the mayor looks out, is this true? And Peter, not missing a beat. Yes, this is true. This man has no dick.
It's fucking so funny.
And Des and I have thrown that at each other so many times. It's just such an ultimate slam for Walter Peck.
Yeah.
And Peck loses his mind. He gets thrown out. Peter delivers another line. I'm gonna miss him. I'm gonna get him a fruit basket.
I love when Peter's downstairs and he says to Ray, explain it to me like I don't know anything. And Ray says, you never studied. It's so good. It's just so simple, but it's so good.
Only to have it thrown back in his face when he does answer. Oh, let me guess. Gozer worshippers.
Yeah.
No studying. He throws it back at Ray so quick. It's so great. He can't be wrong. He's the hero of the movie.
Fucking classic. All right, so people have gathered all around Dana's apartment building, the center of the entire mess. They cheer as the Ghostbusters arrive with a police escort following the National Guard troops. The four men put on their proton packs and are prepared to enter, but a sudden earthquake seems to swallow them beneath the street. Eventually, they emerge unharmed to the continued cheers from the crowd. They band together and head inside. Once inside, they must climb the stairs to Dana's 22nd floor apartment. The Ghostbusters arrive to find Dana's apartment burned out and more or less destroyed. They see the staircase in the kitchen and follow it. As they arrive, they see Dana and Lewis stand on pedestals and raise their arms to the sky. They are suddenly struck by lightning bolts, which they redirect towards the temple door, which swings open. Dana and Lewis turn into terror dogs, much to the Ghostbusters' horror. Gozer appears in the form of the otherworldly woman with a tall, dark, flat top and blood red eyes. Egon points out that she's not really a woman, but rather takes the shape of whatever it wants. Peter goads Ray into talking to her. Ray very formally requests that Gozer return to her place of origin, but she responds by asking if he is a god. He says no, and Gozer responds by shooting light from her fingertips and nearly hurling the Ghostbusters off the edge of the roof. Okay. So, what do you got?
So the best one is this. Hey, where do these stairs go? They go up.
They go up.
And then they go to move to go up them, and Venkman stops and he's like, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Go ahead.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I love that. For some reason, that gets me every single time. They go up.
Always.
Again,
Points
it's the
out the
timing,
obvious.
and it's just so simple. It's smart comedy. It's fucking really good.
It's Bill Murray's timing in this movie is just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Everyone's. The writing,
When they
everything
show
about
up,
it.
when they show up in at the building and the ground starts to shake and break apart, I pointed out something. It's one of those classic Hollywood flubs. The ground's breaking up, things are shifting left and right, and there's a point in a scene where a cruiser on the ground, it starts to rotate like a clock and it slides down into the pit, and another section of the ground is moving upward in front of it. And when it stops moving, it bounces on the hydraulics.
Yes.
And every time I see it happen, it makes me chuckle because it's one of those things like in Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he rolls the convertible, totally destroys the side of the car. Arnold flips the car back onto all four wheels, and now the car is in perfect working condition.
Right,
No dents,
right.
no scratches. It's one of those scenes that Hollywood makes that you never pick up until you see the movie. It's a scream.
I've
Absolute
seen one in one of the Indiana Jones movies where the rocks are clearly rubber. Like they're
Oh, yeah.
you can see them
they're
flexing
bouncing.
when
Yeah.
bouncing, exactly.
And there's another great line as they're climbing the stairs. They're all climbing. They're all struggling to climb the stairs. Where are we? Looks like we're in the teens. Well, let me know when we get to 20. I'm gonna throw up. I was laughing my ass off.
Well, you do have to. I mean, like in reality, you got to think those proton packs are probably super freaking heavy, too.
I would
you're-
imagine so.
Yeah, so you're lumping that thing up the stairs on top of going up all those stairs, anyways.
When someone asks if you're a god, you say yes. Holy shit. It's fucking funny. They regroup and decide to attack Gozer, but she nimbly jumps clear of their screams and lands behind them. Another attack proves fruitless as she disappears rather than being caught in the streams. Believing they are victorious, the Ghostbusters begin to celebrate, but it's short-lived as Gozer's booming voice is heard above the city, demanding that they choose the form of the Destructor. Peter tells everyone to clear their minds and think of nothing, so no form will be taken. But Ray says something just popped in his mind, something he thought could never harm anyone. It's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, a 10-story white Puft Marshmallow Man begins to walk the streets of the city, crushing everything underfoot. When he is close enough, the Ghostbusters open fire, setting Mr. Stay Puft ablaze as he begins to climb the building King Kong style. Running for cover, the Ghostbusters appear out of ideas until Egon suggests they cross the streams in an effort to close the door and destroy Gozer's portal. Realizing this will probably mean they're doomed, the Ghostbusters go ahead with the plan and set off to finish the god. Even if it means it kills them. Crossing the streams does result in a catastrophic explosion, destroying the temple and incinerating the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, raining molten marshmallow all over the streets, including an onlooking Walter Peck. Dude, he would have been stripped to the bone like napalm.
Oh,
It would
yeah.
have been bad.
Absolutely.
The Ghostbusters have survived, and both Dana and Lewis are freed from their stony dog bodies. They all leave, none worse for the wear. Down on the street, the crowd cheers as the Ghostbusters drive away. Woo! Okay, we made it.
You did
Yikes.
it.
Yeah,
Wow.
yikes is right. It was fucking brutal today. Yo. So we get some super funny lines in this final scene. They're talking about how, you know, they could kill her, Dana, and he says, a nice lady that paid us in advance before she became a dog. It's fucking so good. And then at the very end, one of my favorite lines, you know, Mr. Tully, your most fortunate individual. I know. You participated in the biggest interdimensional trip since the Dilbiska Blask of 1909. Felt
Dilbiska.
great. Whatever. Felt great. We'd like to get a sample of your brain tissue. Okay.
My favorite part is that he goes, who does your taxes?
Oh, so
Yeah,
good.
exactly. He doesn't forget that he's an accountant.
Oh, I fucking love his character.
Oh.
He's my favorite character in the movie, I think. I really love him.
And there's also there are some lines that pop culture carries on and on and on years later, and this scene has another one of them when they're talking about crossing the streams, and they know what could happen, and Peter yells out, well, how do you do it? I love this plan. I'm excited to be a part of it. That has been called back in so many different ways, even in cartoons. That's been
so
called
good.
up. It's one of those lines, and like you had said earlier, there's so much about this movie that's part of our culture now,
Yeah.
even 20, 30 years later.
Everybody knows who the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is. Everybody knows.
Yeah,
Yep.
try saying State Puft Marshmallow Man 25 times
Stay
in a
Puft
podcast.
Marshmallow Man. It's tough.
And-
It's not easy.
And Mr. Stay Puft is brought back into Afterlife as well, except he's not a giant in this one.
Yeah, he's the teeny one.
He's a tiny little 3-inch marshmallow man, and he has siblings.
I really love that. Yeah, the horror that would have rained down on that city
Oh my
with
God.
that burning fucking sugar, it literally would have been like napalm just spraying and melting people's fucking heads. I would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah, as
That would
I
have been,
told
that would have
Des,
been interesting.
my mother has a scar on her knee, and it is about a quarter size, and it is puckered, and it is a ugly scar. Like, I remember being the little girl and being like, what is that on your knee? She dropped a marshmallow that was on fire on her leg when she was camping, and to this day, she has this gnarly scar. You want to tell me that much hot marshmallow is going to land on people, and everyone's not losing their entire skin?
Yeah,
Like,
this
just,
is
yeah.
this is rated X if they want to go for the fucking the
reality.
realism of what hot sugar does to human flesh.
And,
Yeah, not
and
good.
let's bring up the fact that somehow, some way, the people are that close to the fucking building in the first place.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
there's actually one part where like a big part of the building falls down, and if you're
Yeah.
watching closely, you see it hit one of the extras on the head.
Exactly,
It's clearly
exactly.
foam rubber. It's not a big deal, but if that was real, their head would have exploded into a million pieces.
I just thought it was amazing that nobody got moved away from the building.
Yeah,
The
and then
police,
Yeah.
the police weren't even close to doing their job. It's like, There are people milling about right in front of the door, getting knocked on the head by giant pieces of concrete.
Yeah.
They're within the blast radius when the Marshmallow Man goes up in flames. It's like, really? Are you
Yeah.
fucking kidding me? But
And then at the end of the movie, the Ghostbusters are covered in this hot marshmallow.
yeah,
These
they'd be
guys
dead.
would have all been covered in third-degree burns, fighting for their lives in a fucking burn care unit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed or not. One person was barely touched by that melting marshmallow, and it was Peter Venkman.
Yeah.
When everybody came out from wherever they were hiding, everybody was covered in this white fluff. Peter had like a couple of spots on his sleeve. I was like,
God.
gee.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Winston Zedmore is literally just his little face, and the
Yeah,
rest
all
of
you
his
see
entire
is his
body
face
is
covered in marshmallow. It was friggin' hysterical.
Yeah, but what's his name? The guy from the environmental
Walter
Yes.
Peck.
Walter Peck literally would have been a skeleton. Just
Yeah.
Oh,
stripped
yeah.
to the bone. Stripped
Yeah.
to the bone.
He would have died immediately from the shock
Oh,
alone.
God.
Molten
shit.
marshmallow that much. It was like he was at a water park. That much hit him at the same time. Like somebody had dumped a bucket of water on him. Like
It was
this
literally
is
the
no ice
most.
bucket challenge.
Yeah,
This
it
is
was
the
the most-
molten marshmallow challenge.
It was the most unbelievable part of the movie that
Yeah.
they wanted nobody to question this hot marshmallow falling on people. All right, I think we've gone through the hot marshmallow
Enough.
thoroughly. Let's recast this then. So I'm going to go basic on this. I would remove Bill Murray and replace him with John Belushi because that was Dan Aykroyd's vision,
Yep.
and that was Harold Ramis's vision, and I'd like to see it. You know, these guys know best. So there you go. Pat, what do you got?
I would take that one step further, and I would cast Eddie Murphy as Winston Zeddemore because he again was the original. Dan Aykroyd's vision was Belushi and Murphy and him in this movie, and that
would have been awesome.
those are the only actors you could put in place to make it work.
Yeah.
Those three together, oh, that would have been a scream.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I love the casting the way it was, but fuck yeah, Eddie Murphy would have definitely added another layer to this.
Eddie
movie.
Murphy and Belushi together with Aykroyd, that would have been an absolute laugh riot.
It's a movie I'd watch. Dylan, what do you got?
So I'm going to take it one further. And one of the original people that was suggested for Egon was Jeff Goldblum. And I would replace him with Jeff Goldblum because I think
I
he'd be
can see that
amazing.
easy.
It would have been so good because he's
Tall,
so
lanky.
doing that tall, lanky, dry, serious
Yep.
thing. Like, it would have been perfect.
Yeah, I love
Yeah, I
Jeff
can see
Goldblum
that.
in anything. I mean, he
Yeah, me
came
too.
into conversation last week too. He's just so good. He can do anything. And you know what's funny? His timing and his dry comedy was on display in the fucking dinosaur movie,
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic
I
Park,
better-
yeah.
I think I got
Dinosaur
a brain.
movie.
I think I got a brain tumor.
It's not a
guys want-
tumor.
To go sample my brain. Okay.
Okay.
Good recasting, Couch Chat. I thought everybody did a nice job. So let's do some final thoughts and a rewatch score on this one. I think this is going to be a sweep, but we'll see. So, I mean, what can I say that I haven't already tried to say at this podcast?
Emphasis on the tried.
It's a perfect movie. I wish I could give this movie 6 rewatches, but unfortunately, 5 is going to have to do. So, yeah, this is a perfect movie. 5 rewatches. I think this is probably the best movie we've reviewed so far. It's really, really good. Lynn, what do you got?
It's a 5. It's a 5. It's a 5. You cannot tell me any different. No, it's a 5.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Period.
And Pat, what do you got?
Oh, there's no question it's a 5. Everything from beginning to end is exactly where you want it to be. The deadpan humor from Egon, Peter and his arrogant craziness, trying to hit on Dana the whole time. Just all the iconic lines and everything that you can still see in pop culture today. There's no question it's a 5. I wish the Des sliding scale was still active because it should be far more than that.
Well, we can put this one at number 1, even though it's in a tie. We'll put it up at the top. How about that? So I don't even have to ask you, but will you please calculate those scores?
It is a 5. And
I
that
think
puts
it's
it at
five.
number 1.
Okay, and where does it share the top billing with?
Okay, so our other 5s are Beverly Hills Cop, the first one, Galaxy
it.
Quest,
Love
Lethal
it.
Weapon 4, and The Thing.
Love it.
I've
Yeah,
seen
Love them all.
everything but the thing.
So good. So good.
I
It
think
is
you
a
need to
5.
watch
The
it.
original, because I know they remade it.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
no.
the original.
The remake was actually decent. I did not hate it, but the original is the jam.
I'll have to
Yeah.
look for it.
It's really good.
Like the man from Toronto.
Yeah.
Like the man from Toronto. Okay. So I am resigning as the script reader today. I don't think that the podcast can take another week of this. It could be the end of the fucking podcast.
I don't know. Our
Clearly-
numbers have been pretty good lately, and you're the one reading.
Yeah, clearly not qualified to be reading these scripts.
Or maybe
So-
you should just learn how to read.
No, I don't want to do that. So we will be back
Of course not.
next week where we will be discussing Dazed and Confused, and it will be another dysfunctional date night with Mikki and her husband, Tony 2.0. It's always fun when we all get together and break down movies. So, Pat, it's always fun having you on the show. You brought it today, which was nice because I was literally having a nervous breakdown throughout the entire podcast, knowing that it would take me 14 days to edit the disaster that I laid out for you guys tonight. So, Lynn, it's always fun watching movies from opposite sides of the house and breaking them down with you. And the listeners, of course. Without you guys, all 7 of you are nothing. So, appreciate you guys coming and listening to the show every week. So
The
until
podcast found its voice at episode 43.
yeah, fucking great.
I thought you'd like that.
If you guys like music, you like albums, check out Breaking Vinyl this week, where we broke down Alice Cooper's Welcome to My Nightmare. It was a great episode. Me and the guys, all musicians who are co-hosts, we all got together. We're now being called the Breaking Vinyl House Band, and we recorded a kind of spoof on Welcome to Your Nightmare, and we put it in there for the intro. So go check that out if you're interested. And until next time, I just have one question for you. Hey, where'd you learn how to read? See you later.
And check out Ghostbusters Afterlife. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, check that
Absolutely.
out. All right, guys. See you
Bye.
later.